Have you ever stood in the grocery store, looking at shiny rows of vegetables under bright lights, and thought, wow, this looks fresh? But then, just a day or two after you bring it home, the spinach is slimy, the cucumbers are soft, and the broccoli is yellowing in your fridge. You're not alone. For generations, supermarkets have shaped how we shop, teaching us to trust the way produce looks when it's stacked in neat piles, sprayed with mist, and lit up like a showroom. But here on Spend Smart, we ask a different question. What if the vegetables you trust aren't the vegetables you should be taking home? Today, we're taking a deep dive into the grocery stores across America, uncovering which chains you may want to avoid when it comes to produce, and which ones are still delivering the kind of freshness and quality you deserve. Stick around until the end, because while some stores are letting customers down, others are actually doing things right, and you'll want to know which ones are worth your time, money, and trust. Grocery store number 1, Walmart. Let's start with the giant Walmart. For decades, Walmart built its reputation on one promise: low prices. And for families trying to stretch a budget, the produce section once felt like a lifeline. Shoppers remember neat bins of apples, mounds of potatoes, and bright red tomatoes that gave the impression of farm-fresh abundance at an unbeatable price. But over time, customers have noticed that Walmart's produce aisle isn't always what it seems. Online reviews, social media posts, and everyday conversations are filled with the same complaints. Lettuce with brown, soggy edges. Zucchini that turns soft and mushy within 48 hours. Broccoli yellowing before you can even cook it. One longtime Walmart customer gave up entirely on buying bagged spinach after repeatedly finding it spoiled days before the expiration date. Another told of buying green beans for a weekend dinner, only to throw them away after mold appeared just 2 days later. So what's happening behind the scenes? Former Walmart produce employees shed some light. Walmart's massive distribution system, designed to keep prices low, often means vegetables are traveling thousands of miles. They sit in warehouses, on trucks, and in storage before ever reaching the shelves. By the time you see them, they might already be close to the end of their shelf life. And there's another problem: prepackaging. Walmart increasingly relies on bagged or sealed produce. While this makes displays neat and easier to manage, it hides flaws that you could otherwise spot in open bins. Customers can't see bruises, rot, or mold until they get home, when it's too late. Even the pricing isn't always the deal it looks like. A smaller package at a low price may actually work out to a higher cost per pound than produce at other stores. The result is a quiet frustration. Not the kind that sparks outrage, but the slow drip of disappointment every time you open your fridge and realize the vegetables you just bought are already past their best. And that leaves you wondering, is the promise of everyday low prices worth it if it means replacing food more often and wasting money in the long run? Grocery store number 2, King Soopers. Now let's move to Colorado, where King Soopers has been part of communities for generations. Shoppers remember when the produce section was the heart of the store. Peaches so fragrant you could smell them down the aisle. Melons tested with a careful knock. The sense that what you were bringing home would last and taste like it should. But lately, the story is different. Customer reviews and reports describe produce that spoils almost immediately. Spinach that turns to mush in a single day. Cucumbers that look glossy in the store but reveal watery, soft spots once you slice into them. Avocados that appear perfect, but inside, brown streaks of disappointment. One shopper said buying produce here now feels like a gamble. Some weeks, everything's fine. Other weeks, you're racing the clock to eat your vegetables before they spoil. So what changed? Former employees point to corporate-level shifts in delivery schedules. Produce that once moved quickly now sometimes sits in storage longer before it hits the floor, especially in smaller or lower-volume locations. And while misting machines keep greens looking crisp and fresh under the lights, they can't restore lost freshness from days in storage. Even the local labels have raised eyebrows. Some shoppers discovered that what was labeled as local actually came from hundreds of miles away. Local, it seems, doesn't always mean what customers think. Packaging is another factor. More vegetables come pre-bagged, making it harder for customers to inspect for blemishes or spoilage. By the time you realize the carrots are limp or the peppers are shriveled, you've already paid. And then there's the price. Like everywhere, costs have gone up. But it stings more when what you buy doesn't last. One longtime shopper confessed they stopped buying certain items entirely after too many disappointments. Carrots that went limp overnight. Peppers that looked fine but shriveled inside. The result? A quiet erosion of trust. King Soopers still holds nostalgic weight for families in Colorado, but many shoppers now hesitate in the produce aisle. It's no longer the automatic, dependable choice it once was. Instead, it feels like another roll of the dice. Grocery store number 3, avoid. Kroger. Now let's talk about Kroger. For generations, Kroger's produce department has been a source of pride. Bright displays, seasonal abundance, and that feeling that a trip to the store could actually be enjoyable. Shoppers recall the scent of strawberries in early summer or the vibrant orange of pumpkins in fall. But these days, more and more shoppers say the experience has changed. Reviews frequently mention kale that wilts within a day, onions hiding soft spots, and fruit that looks picture-perfect on the outside but has no real flavor inside. One shopper described buying a bag labeled local apples only to find the fine print revealed they came from an entirely different state. Another bought a pre-packed salad mix that was already breaking down by the next morning. So why is this happening? Former employees point to corporate changes in ordering and stocking. Fewer deliveries mean produce sometimes spends longer in storage before being placed on shelves. And when freshness is sacrificed for efficiency, the customer pays the price. Kroger also leans into prepackaged, convenience-driven produce. On the surface, it's handy. Pre-cut melons, bagged peppers, and ready-to-cook veggie packs. But too often, shoppers find internal mold, bland taste, or items that spoil shockingly fast. And here's the kicker. Prices are climbing. Kroger has narrowed the gap between itself and higher-end competitors, but many customers feel the quality doesn't match the cost. It's not that you can't find good produce at Kroger. You can. But it feels more like a gamble than it used to. Once upon a time, shoppers trusted that what they picked up would last. Now, it's more about caution, second-guessing, and carefully avoiding disappointment. The result? A slow but steady erosion of trust. Not enough to drive everyone away, but enough to change habits. Shoppers are buying fewer impulse items, inspecting more carefully, and feeling less confident than they once did. If you've ever bought vegetables from Walmart, King Soopers, or Kroger, and had them spoil faster than you expected, let me know in the comments. What's been your worst produce fail? And don't forget to give this video a quick thumbs up. It helps us keep uncovering the truth behind the aisles. Grocery store number 4, Safeway. Safeway has been part of the American grocery landscape for generations. For many shoppers, it was once the place you could trust for Sunday dinner vegetables, crisp lettuce for sandwiches, or ripe cucumbers for a summer salad. Older shoppers remember neat rows of produce, polished apples that gleamed under the lights, and heads of lettuce that promised crunch with every bite. But more recently, the story feels different. Customer reviews paint a frustrating picture. Bags of carrots turning slimy before the week is out. Cucumbers soften in just a few days. Lettuce hiding rust spots beneath the outer leaves. One shopper recalled buying a bag of salad greens for a special dinner, only to find that the bottom layers were already decaying by the next morning. Why does this keep happening? Former Safeway employees explained that many locations now receive fewer produce deliveries per week. That means vegetables may sit in distribution longer before they even reach the shelves. By the time you pick them up, the clock is already ticking. And while misting machines make greens look fresh and vibrant in the aisle, they can't restore lost vitality. They only create the illusion of freshness. Another issue is the rise of prepackaged produce. Spinach tubs, chopped onions, sealed plastic bags. These are convenient, but they limit how much you can inspect. You don't discover the quality problem until you get home. Shoppers have also questioned Safeway's use of locally grown signs. In theory, this inspires trust. In practice, some items labeled local were sourced from hundreds of miles away. So, while the displays may look clean and the aisles inviting, the trust is shifted. Safeway still feels familiar, but customers are learning to approach its produce aisle with caution. They now inspect every tomato and every pepper a little longer than before. And that says everything. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's been your worst produce disappointment? That bag of lettuce that went slimy overnight? Or maybe a batch of strawberries that looked great, but tasted like nothing? Drop your story in the comments. I guarantee you're not the only one. And if you found this video helpful, give it a polite thumbs up, subscribe to Spend Smart, and turn on notifications so you never miss when we peel back the layers on where your money really goes. Because in the end, saving isn't just about price tags, it's about value. And knowing where to shop can make all the difference.